Hey, what's up everybody? Bdf 44 coming at you in another video. Alright, so I kind of want to just explore the area that I'm in. I'm over in Burbank right now. Just came from my insurance appointment for life insurance policy I was telling y'all about. And so yeah, I sat down with a really nice lady named Ani, and she just kind of broke down everything and let me know what my options was, and I made a decision on that, and etc., etc. So now I feel really good about that meeting, though. I felt good about just the whole thing. So yeah, man, I want to turn on the camera here, man, because obviously everything that's going on today, man, I think it requires some communication, since we talk a lot about every dang thing on here, really. And so I just, first of all, I want to send condolences out to Charlie Kirk's family, man. I don't know of his condition. Last I checked, he was not doing well. I saw the footage, saw about, 4 different angles, man. It comes down to this. I may not share his opinions. He may not think much of me, whatever that looks like. But when you see something like that happen, you immediately go to a space of humanity, not resentment like I see some people going toward. It's just not the time for that. We can all agree to disagree, we can all even fight, but when it comes to losing your life, that's not something to toy around with. And that's really my point of view on that. It's not time to do the low-hanging fruit thing. He said this, look what happened. It's not time for that, man. And I take offense to it when people do it in regards to people I appreciate. And so for people that I wouldn't agree with, I don't do that, man. It's about principle more than it is about this person themselves. It's just about how do you want to carry yourself. And the way that I want to carry myself, I do not want to be the guy that says, see, I told you so, when I find I'm right about, or whatever the case may be. That's not how I want to carry myself in life. And so that's where I want to start. Like I said, I saw 4 different angles of what took place. I'm sure you all have heard, but just for the sake of record, he was shot today in front of what looked like 1,000 people. It was graphic, it was brutal. And as I said, man, I don't think he deserved that. I'd like to see people be able to live long enough to change their opinions about things, especially a young person like that. I don't think Charlie was my guess was he was younger than 40. And some of his positions were, like I said, quite contrary to my point of view in life. And as a black person, I felt like he was quite disrespectful to people of color a consistent amount of times. But I mean, it is what it is, man. I don't know if that's something that should have made it so that this was what we see of him today. And I look at things very simply put. We reap what we sow, man. We really do. We really, really do, man. When we open our mouths, say certain things, and we're critical about others, you don't know how much time you have left. You don't know what the future may hold. We take life for granted, a lot of us, regardless of what our positions are. We tend to take life for granted like we're just guaranteed to be able to see our plans through, like we're just guaranteed more life, and you may not be. You may not be, man. And that's what comes to mind. I just hated seeing what happened there with that gentleman, but at the same time, I also understand there were a lot of people who were hurt by his sentiments. Racism was something that he stood on in a lot of cases. And he supported what was going on in Gaza openly, repeatedly. He supported loose gun laws, from what I understand, only for him to fall victim to severe gun violence. It doesn't look good, I don't know if like I said, it's been about an hour since I heard any reporting. Last I heard, he was in critical condition, having a blood transfusion. But I can assure you all, based on what I saw, he wasn't doing well, y'all. Based on the images that we saw, the likelihood that he survives that isn't good, man. And so, for me, I just want to send condolences to anybody who loved the man, who loves the man, rather. Anybody who saw that, whose feelings were shot, no pun intended, obviously, whose feelings are hurt by what they saw there, or who's not used to seeing violence. I feel for the world today, for those of us who are not used to seeing violence. For me, and you guys know this, I'm used to seeing violence at this point. I've seen a lot of it over the last 2 years. The genocide has shown me everything I needed to see in regards to desensitizing my mind and my eyes to things that I thought I would never be comfortable seeing in this life. Things that I never thought I would be able to sleep or eat a meal after watching and things. At this point, my mind is different as it pertains to what I can tolerate. And so seeing that, it bothered me from a human standpoint, but from a traumatic standpoint, it was just more of what we see all the time. And that's unfortunate for myself. I think that's unfortunate for everybody who's been through that type of trauma. And furthermore, I sympathize with those who are not, because what you saw probably really bothered you in a way that, unfortunately, I'm not afforded an opportunity to be bothered in that regard. That natural stomach turning feeling that you get when you see images such as these, I'm not afforded anymore. And there may be a lot of people who are offended by individuals who haven't seen much violence when you consider how much of it is so available to us as it pertains to the genocide that's going on in Gaza. Some people are like, if you're not used to seeing this, that's because you haven't been paying attention. You haven't cared to look, because there's so much to see. I've already heard that sentiment once. But my thing is, some people are just not pointed in the direction to get that information, man. And if they were pointed in that direction, or if someone would push them toward it, it would change their lives. It would change their point of view on a lot of things. It would open their eyes, just like this has done for all of us. It's only but so many people that are deliberately neglectful of what's going on there, in my opinion. It's only but so many, whatever the number would be. I don't think everybody who's not aware doesn't care. Some people have just not seen it yet. Some people have just not had their eyes opened yet. Some people are just heavily propagandized to a degree that is far beyond anything that we're used to. Is that okay? I would say it's not, but are they to be condemned for it? I would say they're not. I would say they're not. And so, I saw images this morning outside of the circumstance with Charlie that were disturbing to see, to be honest with you, because that's just how much I see from what's going on in Gaza. They were destroying Gaza City this morning. If I'm not mistaken, that's the name of it, I believe it was. Northern Gaza, they're destroying that. Just like, it's really bad right now as we speak. They're really like just decimating us in an area that had not been decimated as of yet. And so, the images I'm referring to are of that. Some of the children that have lost their lives and things like that. And we've seen a lot of that over the last 24 hours. And so Charlie's situation is just one of many devastating things that I've seen in the same amount of time that I've been talking to you guys over the past 2 days, rather. So, I know this is a time where people are hurting and grieving, and it's a lot going on. I'm thinking about the lady who lost her life on the bus. I didn't properly address that circumstance because I didn't have the information, but condolences to her and her family. And we can get into conspiracies if you want. I don't know, man. People passed away, man. What can I say? Whether they were sacrificed by a greater agenda creator or not, these are people who lost their lives, or a person who lost their lives. Hopefully Charlie somehow makes it through. And that in and of itself requires its own conversation, aside from what ifs and what could have and what we think. And that's just my point of view. But yeah, when I get more information on a lady from Ukraine who lost her life on that bus in North Carolina, I'll let you know. But right now, I'm just not clear on what's going on there. And I'm listening to a lot of people who are trying to present it to us in such a way that has people looking at one another, in some awful ways. It's always some individuals who will take a story and then apply a certain level of humanity to discredit a different story on the opposite end of the spectrum they're on. You know, the same people in this scenario are that gave us no sympathy or empathy for George Floyd are now telling us we don't, as black people, harbor enough empathy for the young lady on the bus. And you know, it's a lot of propaganda pushing that makes you wonder if she was not sacrificed, you know, for that purpose. And you know, like I said, that's conspiracy stuff, but you could see how even if she wasn't, even if that's not the case, you can see where those opportunist narrative creators are now centering themselves around her murder in a way to push the notion that you shouldn't trust myself or anyone that looks like me based on that circumstance. And we've seen them do it on the opposite ends of the spectrum as well, where somebody will lose their life and then a fleet of individuals will say, well, we care or we don't care, and this is why, you know. And at the end of the day, whether these are isolated incidents or something more devious, something more sinister, we still need to remember that people are grieving, people lost their lives, and people are not interested in hearing our point of view that only centers itself around a certain perspective when it comes to their loved one. So that's what I try not to do, man. I try not to do that. Because that's the type of humanity that I would hope you would point in my family upon my passing, you know what I mean? Not try to make it about you, not try to make it about a cause, but more so just being respectful of somebody's grieving process as you would want your family members to be able to in regards to yourself. So that's what I try to do here as well, man. I don't find myself pleased to see people lose their lives in any situation. Even if you or I would have deemed they deserve it, I don't know if it's my place to say, hey, this is what they should get. You know, this is or try to lay the hammer down myself or something like that. I just don't think that's too much power for one person, in my opinion. That's too much power for me to say who lives, who dies based on my point of view or what may have happened or didn't happen. I don't know. I don't find myself to trust that I'm the right mind to tell you something like that. And so that's really my point of view, man. There are a lot of people who are unhappy. There are a lot of people who are dancing about what happened to Charlie Kirk. But at the end of the day, this is a man who's if he makes it through this, barely survived. If he doesn't make it through it, lost his life in a violent way, in a traumatic for a lot of people who viewed it, who witnessed it in that way. And I think that there should be some respect paid to that being the case. And so that's what I wish to center this video around. I will not lie, I'm not a hypocrite. There were things that he said that I didn't agree with, and upon this circumstance taking place, a lot of those videos are floating around the internet just like the footage of what happened to him. And I did post a few things. I posted a few things that were in that vein, and there will be people who won't be pleased with me. But I think the purpose is to show people that there's power in the tongue. There's power in allowing your point of view to be so callous, only to find yourself being a victim to what it is you otherwise support, so long as it's not happening to you. But when it's happening to you, suddenly your position may change. And I think that that's the purpose of my reposting those things that he said about guns being, it's okay that they kill a few people so that they can keep their Second Amendment rights. Like, for him to say that and then to ultimately have what happened take place, I don't know if he would still feel that way this morning. I don't know if he still feel that way right now. But it's a cautionary tale for the rest of us to understand that there's power in the tongue, and if we speak the wrong way, we can welcome our fate. If we are calloused, we can too find moments where that callousness will be pointed at us for our fate. And it's worth it to not be that way. Excuse me. It's worth it to not be that way. And that's really my point of view, man. He was saying something along the lines of the word empathy is dangerous or provides a certain, I don't remember the wording, so I don't want to get misspeak in regards to what he was saying, but now it's time for him to receive empathy, and there are people who are not showing it to him. Would he still feel that way? Would he still feel that way today, now that this has taken place? And I think if he survives, he'll have an opportunity to have changed his mind about a lot of things. Sometimes it takes almost losing your life to change your life. Hopefully he's given that opportunity, hoping for his sake that this isn't the end for him, so that he can have an opportunity at changing if that change would be most appropriate for his life. And so I just want to send condolences to his people, to everyone who loves him, for everyone who wants to see him survive this. You have my support and my prayers. God doesn't have to agree with me. A guy doesn't even have to have the same empathy for my life that I have for him. That's not my point in life. I've felt differently about things. I've seen myself change in a lot of ways, so I'm not looking for people to have the same empathy for me that I have for them. I think that's the beauty of having love in your heart, that you understand it's not just as common as maybe we would like to think it is. That there are people out there who could give no cares for what happens to one another, and in that reality comes a certain superpower you may have to show empathy, to have care for someone who doesn't agree with you or someone who doesn't care for you at all. It doesn't mean that you become a fool or a victim to their nonsense within that empathy, but when you see situations like this, you don't harbor ill will, you don't harbor a poor intent, you don't dance around and celebrate what happened to them just because they may have, if something happened to you. You were stronger than them in that regard, and that's something you should take a great deal of pride in when you live your life and they happen to lose theirs. You know what I mean? There's a strength in that, and we need to give credence to that strength. And so I understand that there are going to be a lot of black people who don't share this sentiment. There are going to be a lot of people of color, people who are pro-Palestinian activists who don't share this sentiment, because this was an individual, or is an individual, that didn't show a whole lot of empathy for others and co-signed the slaughtering of people. But once you suffer a fate like this, we're going to see if you still feel the same way. And that's really what it comes down to for me. We're going to see if he still feel the same way now that this has been his reality, if he's able to survive this. And he going to understand, whether he does or not, because I believe in the afterlife, that this was someone he supported, someone who he would not have wanted to see harm, that ended up harming him. Not the people that he condemned, not the people he didn't care to see survive, not the people he's been advocating for the slaughtering of, or advocating for the disadvantage of, but someone white just like him is ultimately who did this to him. And I take no pleasure in saying that, because black people kill black people every day. You know what I mean? It's something that's often thrown in our face in regards to our fate. But just to say that this person was so critical of people of color and so supportive of people who shared his hue, only to be in this situation at the hands of someone who shared his hue. I think it's an evil irony, and it speaks to the spirituality of the energy of the whole situation, is to say, I don't know that he welcomes this upon himself if he would have had more love in his heart for someone who didn't feel or look his way. Bdf 44, I thank you all for watching.